Right now on ABC 10 News at 4 o'clock, the House pushes to impeach President Trump. What's expected to play out in Washington in the days ahead. Plus, gorillas at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park test positive for coronavirus. And a glimpse at what this year's San Diego County Fair could look like.
ABC 10 News at 4 starts now.
With a little more than a week left in office, President Trump could be the first president ever to be impeached twice. Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Hunt. And today, House Democrats have unveiled their impeachment resolution charging President Trump with one count of incitement of insurrection following last week's riots at the Capitol. And with pressure mounting, the House is working quickly to try to oust him from office.
This president is guilty of inciting insurrection. He has to pay a price for that.
Democrats formally introduced an impeachment resolution Monday morning, the first move toward holding an impeachment vote against President Donald Trump this week. Democrats tried to first take up a resolution urging Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment through unanimous consent, but that was blocked by Republicans.
Resolution calling on Vice President Michael R. Pence to convene and mobilize the principal officers of the executive departments of the cabinet to activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to declare President Donald J. Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office and to immediately exercise powers as acting president.
I object.
The single article charges Trump with incitement of insurrection for his role in the riots at the U.S. Capitol last Wednesday. It also references Trump's repeated false claims of a stolen election and his call to the Georgia Secretary of State, in which he urged the secretary to find votes for him to win. The co-sponsor of the article of impeachment, Representative Dan Kildee, told CNN that a vote could come on Wednesday if Pence doesn't act to invoke a vote on the 25th Amendment.
We'll move as quickly as possible to take the impeachment article to the floor of the House and act upon it.
Just in, the acting Secretary of Homeland Security has resigned. This comes days after Chad Wolf criticized the president over the riot at the Capitol. In a message to staff, Wolf says Pete Gaynor will become the new acting secretary. He previously ran the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The FBI is warning of planned armed protests this week and through Inauguration Day across all 50 state capitals. Federal law enforcement officials are now advising police agencies to increase their security at state houses from coast to coast. And meantime, the National Guard is deploying up to 15,000 troops to Washington, D.C. to boost security ahead of the inauguration. About 1,500 troops based out of Pennsylvania and New Jersey already traveled to the nation's capital over the weekend. They will help with security and protecting monuments and buildings. Governor Newsom says he'll activate the National Guard in California if needed. And joining us now live is Democratic Congressman Juan Vargas, who represents California's 51st District. Congressman Vargas, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Of course, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Let's start with a little over a week left in the Trump presidency. Explain why impeachment is going forward.
Yes. The reason that impeachment is going forward is because Donald Trump is a danger to our country, to our community, and certainly to the world. He has all of the power that a president has. So he has all of the nuclear codes right at his fingertips. He could launch an attack right now against any nation in the world. We've gone to the military high command and we've asked them not to do that. And they told us what we expected, which was that he is the president. If he orders a nuclear attack, they'll have to follow that. So he's a danger. He's a danger that has to be removed. The only thing that we can do as members of Congress and as senators, the only thing we can do is to impeach him. He can resign, he can be removed under the 25th Amendment, or he can be impeached. Those are the only ways for a president to leave. He's not going to resign. It seems like Pence doesn't have the courage to remove him with the cabinet. So the only thing we can do is try to impeach him to get him out of there before he does something even more dangerous than what he's already done.
When you bring up the only options, there are concerns by some about a snap impeachment and its effect on constitutional balance. They support instead a joint bipartisan condemnation of both houses. Why is that not an option?
A condemnation is nothing. I mean, a condemnation does absolutely nothing. The only thing that can prevent him from really causing havoc in the world and potentially something super dangerous, like starting a war, is to remove him. I mean, he remains the president. There can only be one president at a time. And right now, he's the president. And saying he's been a bad boy, that doesn't do a thing. The only way that we can prevent him from really committing a catastrophe worse than he's done is to remove him. And the only way to do that for us is by impeaching him.
We also want to get your response to some of the other reaction. Others fear that impeaching over speech alone would raise concerns over the use of impeachment in the future. What is your response?
Well, I think that wasn't a speech alone, right? There's a couple of dead police officers now. One of them was killed during this time, and another one now has taken his life because he feels so bad, according to the family members that we've heard from, that the Capitol he loved and his father served him was overrun. We also have 50 police officers that have been injured, some that may lose, one of them may lose his feet. So it wasn't just the speech. This was an armed insurrection against the Capitol. This was the executive attacking the legislative, two branches of government at war with each other. And we simply didn't start the war. We were attacked. So the only thing we can do is impeach him. There's no other legal thing that we can do. And that's what we should do. If it was simply a speech, I'd say, well, yeah, it's simply a speech. There's no action. There was an action here. Now there's been a murder. Now there's been damage. Now there's been a lot of injuries. And that was because of what he did. He incited an insurrection. Unbelievable for a president to do that, but he did that.
Mm-hmm. And we've given you the chance to respond to a lot of the reaction. Would you like to leave with a certain message?
Yeah, I'd leave with this. We're Americans at the end of the day. We're divided, unfortunately, at the moment. We'll come back together. But these last days are some of the most dangerous days in our history. If, in fact, we allow an unhinged president to continue forward, will be. I ask, I think, to prevent a catastrophe in these dangerous days. And then we can come together after that. You know, we're brothers, we're sisters, we love our country. Let's not end our country with a catastrophe for a president like this that's unhinged and has lost really a sense of reality.
Congressman Juan Vargas, thank you for taking time with us this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And within the last hour, we also spoke with Republican Congressman Darrell Issa, who represents the 50th District. He says that he doesn't think impeachment is the right course of action. We will have those arguments later.
The fact is that I think that going forward with impeachment when the president is going to be leaving office appropriately on January 20th at noon, impeaching him and trying to remove him after he's already left is inappropriate. And I will hear the evidence and any motions brought. But just as Vice President Pence did his constitutional duty the other day, and I did mine, I'll continue to. And, you know, that's the only thing I can assure somebody. The president isn't always going to like my votes. I've voted against some of the things the president wanted in the past. You know, the same with Vice President Pence. My expectation is the vice president will be at the inaugural. I certainly hope he will be.
And Issa also says the president told him there will be a smooth transition of power. Still, there has been growing concern of more violent protests ahead of the inauguration. Issa says those threats should not sway lawmakers from doing their sworn duty.
You know, when I was a freshman, a group of thugs tried to blow up my office, and the FBI caught them and punished them. They were both convicted. The fact is that there will always be people who have violent or criminal intent. We can't let that change what we do, not now, not ever. For the same reason as we visit our troops in combat and we take reasonable risk, the same reason that we make our votes and then go to dinner if appropriate with people who voted the other way. You have to do your constitutional duty, and you can't let thugs on either side ever cause you to change your vote or change your speech.
We ask Issa who bears responsibility for the violence last week. Issa said many people could be held responsible for inciting the violence, but not everyone who came to demonstrate came with violent intent. And you can keep track of the latest developments out of Washington with our ABC 10 News mobile app. It is free in the App Store. Now to the coronavirus. Gorillas at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park have tested positive for coronavirus, the first known transmission to great apes in a zoo setting. ABC 10 News reporter Leah Pizzetti is joining us now live with a look at how the zoo believes these gorillas contracted the virus. Leah?
We have 2 gorillas at the San Diego Zoo that now have tested positive for COVID-19.
During Monday's press conference, Governor Gavin Newsom sharing what he called an interesting update.
It's just an area that's long been of concern, human to animal transmission, but our beloved gorillas, obviously, we are concerned about.
2 gorillas at the safari park have officially tested positive. One more is showing symptoms, but the zoo says it is possible more could have coronavirus. In a release, the zoo said it's suspected they were exposed by an asymptomatic staffer who have been taking precautions and wearing PPE when around the gorillas. They also said research shows non-human primates are susceptible to COVID-19. However, this is the first known case of natural transmission. Executive Director Lisa Peterson says they do expect a full recovery.
They're doing okay. They're experiencing some mild symptoms, and we continue to observe them, but they're drinking, they're eating.
And there are 8 gorillas in this troop at Safari Park. A spokesperson tells us because they were testing feces, they're not sure which specific gorillas are positive, so they're assuming that all 8 have been exposed. As we said, we are hoping for more updates on this situation. We'll bring you the very latest when we know more.